everybody, how you doing? Chris from rentbuyhomeadvisor. Today we are with Johan Confidente, one of the most known attorney in the area of Bavaro Punta Cana. So, the reason why we did this video is because many of you keep asking about the differences on buying pre-construction, resales, and the whole legal process. So we decided to invite Johan, that we work together since a long time. So Johan, tell us a little bit more, a quick introduction about you and your services.
Well, Chris, thank you very much for the invitation today. It's a great honor for me to do this video with you and to be able to talk to your audience. Well, as you asked me to do a little presentation of myself, my name is attorney Johan Confidente, real estate lawyer based here in Punta Cana. We've been in the law practice for the last 12 years, representing most buyers, investors, mostly buyers and investors that comes to invest in Punta Cana.
Yeah, so Johan, thank you very much. And let's jump in the content. No? So most of my clients, sometimes they don't understand very well the differences between buying on under construction or resales. No? So just speaking about the legal aspect of it, no? Because we all know the advantages of buying in pre-construction, no? Which are most of the projects have a tax exemption, as we saw. We have equities. I mean, for the people that follow my channel, they know because they're used to hear this more and more. So basically equity, then we have payment plan that give you more time and financial available at the end. So some project you can leave 30, 40, 50% at the end. So you don't have to pay on the first 2 years. No interest, and pick the right location you want ahead. But now, speaking about the legal part, what are the differences, Johan?
Well, among this benefit that you mentioned for pre-construction, I would like to actually exactly make the difference legal-wise. When you buy pre-construction, one of the benefits that you get is that you will be subject to a payment plan that has no interest and such and such. It is true that you will not be able to transfer the property immediately, because when it comes to pre-construction, then you have two contracts. The very first contract will be the promise of sale contract. The promise of sale contract is the contract that is going to regulate everything, will have all the provision that will regulate the relation between buyer and developer from the contract signing until the delivery date. And this is very important to have. This contract has to be very, very specific, has to protect the investor, has to have all the guarantee in the benefit of the investor, because we might have this contract, we might have to stick to that contract for 1, 2, 3 years, depending on the delivery date. So this contract is very, very important to be reviewed, to be analyzed by a lawyer on behalf of the buyer. It is very, very important, because sometimes people think that they can do it on their own, but we need to guarantee, we need to make sure that we have the necessary provision that will protect the right of the investors. We need to make sure that these are in the contract. Now, even before doing that, even before we get to the contract, the acting lawyer on behalf of the buyer is going to make sure that review all the documentation, make sure that everything is in good standing, make sure that all the paperwork that the seller will have to present that will prove that it's his own property, that there is no easement, liens, or any future problem that might affect the property. This is our job as an acting lawyer on behalf of a seller.
So just to give you an example, because many of you ask me, when should I hire the attorney? So in pre-construction, usually you do the separation with $3,000, $5,000, $500, whatever, depending on the project. In that moment is when you have to contact Johan, okay? And it is in that moment that you start reducting, the promise of sale that you mentioned until the first deposit, that usually is around 20%, okay, can be 10 or 30 depending on the project, but let's say 20%. And it is in that moment that, we sign the promise of sale before pay that, right?
Yeah, we recommend that the lawyer gets involved in the process since the very beginning, because this way the lawyer will be able to cover all the necessary details, all the contingency will be put in place with sufficient time. Once the contract is signed and there is not much we can do. So this is why it's important to bring the lawyer on board since the very first moment that you make a decision that I want to buy this property. This is the best time to bring the lawyer on board. And I think we didn't finish the answer in regards to the benefit or the difference buying from pre-construction or a resale. One of the main differences, I mentioned it, that there will be two contracts, and the first one will be the promise of sale, which is going to have all the guarantees and the benefit of the buyer. Then once we complete the payment, once the property has been paid in full, meaning that the buyer already did the inspection, the property was found up to the standards, he was satisfied with the property, then we move forward to the final contract. And this is the contract that we will file in order to get the property transferred to the name of the buyer. So, and the main difference from pre-construction and the resale is that you don't have to go through a promise of sale contract when it comes to a resale. You just finish your due diligence process and go straight forward to the closing and sign the final contract.
Some of my clients ask me, when they buy on resale, if they leave a deposit of $5,000-$10,000, are they covered by a contract? What can we do? A reservation contract? Is an email fine for that? This is something that always ask me, before sending the first time.
Yeah, well, before sending the first part of the money, the reservation or something, I know most real estate, and I know you do that as well, is that there will be a reservation form that mostly will be completed by the buyer, and then with that reservation form, we can always send the first part of the money in order to take the property off the market, which is so important. You don't want to pay attorney fees. You don't want to start doing all the necessary process and then find out that the property is sold. So this is why it is so important to take the property off the market as soon as possible. And the only way to do that is by paying that reservation deposit, which might happen with a reservation form.
Excellent. What documentation the buyer need to purchase either pre-construction or resale?
Well, when the buyer, in regards to the buyer, we only need a copy of passport and copy of the driver's license. Sometimes, because of the money that they will be sending, the bank will request some additional document in order to make sure that the money is coming from legal sources. And those are pretty standard documents like bank statements and tax return and some other. The banks has the ability to request some additional document, but generally speaking, that will be it.
Okay, perfect. And sometimes I have clients that you guys ask me and say, I don't feel really sure with pre-constructions, and I always say, no, the project that we have, the development we have, are completely checked. So what kind of due diligence you do as well to guarantee that?
Yeah, and it's a good point that you mentioned that some of your clients are concerned about pre-construction, because pre-construction is not for everybody. There will be some people doesn't really feel comfortable with pre-construction, some other does. And then once we complete the due diligence, pre-construction is completely safe. If we put the necessary contingency in place, pre-construction is completely safe. And answering your question in regards to the due diligence, we will make sure that the documentation is in good standing, that the property is owned by the developer. This is very, very, very important because you will stick to a contract. You want to make sure that you're dealing with the right person. So our due diligence will also cover making to review and make sure that there will not be any problems like easements, litigations against the property, liens. We will review everything, the chain of custody. Even we're not just going to see the paperwork in front of us. We will go a little bit back in the days and see who was the previous owner and all that. And that will give us a huge advantage because we will then know the history of the property, and that will translate to safety, to more, to secure and safety and the benefit of the buyer.
Yeah, and for you to know, in Remax luxury properties, Remax DR, we do this due diligence to before even receive this kind of project. So it's actually done twice, okay? And the project, the development that we pick, you can come with me and see many of the development that they already did. It's something that's already built that you can touch. We can go through and you see that is actually an important developer, no? And what about the closing process? Just to resume, a quick review about the closing, Johan.
Yeah.
How does it work?
Well, the closing will be the same for both, whether it's pre-construction or a resale is going to be the same, because we will be in front of a formal closing, signing final contract. Even if it's a pre-construction or a resale, will be exact the same. We will confirm the closing date. At that moment, all the paperwork will be on the table. The final payment will be already made, and we will just proceed with the signing of all the documentation. Once we sign the contract, it means that it's formal. We have completed the process of the purchase, and now it's official. The buyers are the new owner, and they have full rights to this property. The day of the closing, the seller is going to bring all the original documents related to the property, meaning title, meaning if it's a corporation, all the documentation related to the corporation, and the certification that we can confirm that the property is still in good standing. From the buyer side, the most important will be make sure that the payment has been made, that the money is clear already, and the documents that we previously mentioned, passport and driver's license.
And just to say that Johan with the OCC, that is the name of his agency, provide services also to open corporation and to take the residence.
Yes.
Here as well. So he can also work on that. Last question: when the buyer need to be here to sign? Because most of my clients are in their own country. Mm-hmm. They pick and they always ask me, when should I come? Can I sign the power? So how does it work? When actually they have to come physically to sign?
That's a great question, because in the Dominican Republic, we do not have remotely signature, especially for documents that we will file. Any other document we can agree, the parties can agree and come to an agreement to sign electronically, to sign remotely. But when it comes to official document that will be filed, that will be registered in public documents, those ones need to be signed in original. And either the buyers and sellers, they have to be present at the closing date, or they need to be duly represented by a power of attorney.
So basically, if a client decides to buy under construction and pick, actually it can be also resale, and pick the unit, and he is in US.
Process, we can definitely start the process from the US, but for the closing date, he will definitely have to come or have a power of attorney representing him.
So basically, in the project, so for the projects, they need to come theoretically in 2 years, if the project is going to be ready in 2 years.
Yeah, basically, yes. The only time that we mandatory need for the buyer to be present is actually on the closing date.
So they can send the paper with the DHL or FedEx on the beginning, the promise of sale.
Every developer is different, and that will be an option that we need to check with the developer, but every developer is different, and the choices that might be one of the choices, and the other one will be electronic signature, since this is not a contract that will be filed to any public office. But as I said, the final contract, there's no option. We have to be present or duly represented, because we don't have the option of electronic signature for the final contract.
No, but it's very important what you mentioned, the electronic signature, because many people are asking, is that legal or not? So now we have finally the answer.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the electronic signature, sorry to cut you right there, but yes, the electronic signature is an option that we always have to see if that is an option from the developer. We always have to ask the developer, do you admit electronic signature? If they don't, then we have to see what options do they offer. But I'm sure that we can manage that with most developers in the area, well-known developers in the area. They will definitely find easy solution for the buyers to sign their contracts.
Excellent. Well, so thank you very much, Johan. And our video finished here. But if you have questions regarding the topic of today, do not hesitate. My WhatsApp is right there. My email is there as well. So don't hesitate, just write the question, and with pleasure we are going to answer. So if you didn't do it, subscribe to my channel. And for today, we are good.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Chris.
Thank you very much.